Good evening and welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. Would you be kind enough to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, Chris can't hear online.
She can now, I think.
Okay. Okay, she does, perfect.
Okay. Very good, yeah. For the folks at home, if you'd be kind enough to pan to the screen, we can show them what we'll be discussing tonight's meeting. We are essentially grant focused here at the end of July. The state has a cycle called the Consolidated Funding Application process. All grants are due tomorrow, as a matter of fact. We do have one that's due in mid-August, and we may or may not be taking action on that one this evening. But we will be approving a previously approved grant application. That's the update to the comprehensive plan. We are beginning now that we have a contract, and we're going to entertain a resolution to approve that contract. We'll now start the beginning steps of forming not only a task force or a committee, but also to go out and solicit from vendors, contractors on organizing and arranging public input for the folks at home. We're looking to review all of the aspects of the comprehensive plan to see which may need to be updated, modified, amended. So we'll be looking for everyone's input in the community, and that'll be happening. I think we're now in late July, so in the fall I think you'll start hearing more about beginning steps in that process. If you've been in a community that has updated its comprehensive plan, you know it's not an overnight endeavor, but that said, we hope to get to it quickly and get through it in a meaningful and comprehensive way. Following that resolution, we have annual audits. You should know that we have an auditor come in and check our procedures, processes, our balances to ensure that the dollars and cents are all adding up the way they're supposed to. Number 3 on the agenda is those CFA grant applications. If you were with us at last meeting, you know that we are applying for funds for brine equipment and upgrades necessary and storage so that we can have in our toolbox, if you will, the ability to pre-treat the roads before storms when appropriate. And so that's one of the grants we'll be applying for. The August grant, which is the second one listed here, is a green resiliency grant. We have already approved, or we have indicated our approval of having the labor forces here at the Highway Department begin work in retrofitting a small portion of Forest Park, the stormwater management system. This grant would be for a more comprehensive approach to the neighborhood water issues. That's the Green Resiliency Grant. We have a resolution authorizing submission of an application for the New York State Parks Grant for Saltkill Pedestrian Bridge. So if you've been following along, the Cookingham Farm Trails and construction has just begun on the farm fencing this week. You'll know that ultimately the plan is to have a bridge that will connect the Cookingham Trails to Rec Park. So we'll have the ability to go from Abraham's Park, Cookingham Trails, connect over to Rec Park, and then Rec Park West, make our way through the Winnicke Trails over to 9G, then cross over, and importantly, ultimately connect to the Empire State Trail, which will bring us up to the village of Tivoli, and then as far as you'd like to go on the Empire State Trail. And so this is an application for a grant for that bridge crossing. Don't be confused with number 4. Number 4 relates to the bridge that we are replacing that already exists on Aspinwall Road. This is a bridge replacement project through Bridge New York that we received funding for. We are being considered as we speak for supplemental funding as recommended by the Dutchess County Transportation Council. And we have a resolution establishing lead agency related to that project. Number 5 is a resolution to approve a NYSERDA CEC program grant. This also is a contract. You'll hear in my announcements more about that program and our success with that. Resolution to consent to Village of Red Hook lead agency designation for phase 2 of the sewer expansion. So if you know what's going on in the community, you know both that we are endeavoring to create a sewer district for the traditional neighborhood center here, these 3 or 4 zoning districts. And at the same time, the village now is looking to expand the sewer plant capacity to accommodate their projects in the village, which includes the one on Fisk, the Cookingham project, and also phase 3 of Red Hook Commons. And then we have department board and committee reports and correspondence. So that's what we'll be discussing tonight. Why don't we jump right on in with announcements. I spoke about clean energy communities. Folks, if you're wondering if there's benefit to a lot of the clean energy projects and high impact projects that we do in the community here over the years, I can tell you there is. From a budgetary standpoint, we've saved a lot of money on our annual budgets with a lot of the renewable and efficiency efforts that we have. But in addition to that, New York State has established this program called Clean Energy Communities, and if you will, it's sort of a incentive type program where you get rewarded for points doing these projects. And we've just been informed that we obtained level 2 of what I would call our second round of project grant awards. So this is another $175,000. If you were following a couple of months ago, we announced that we obtained the $100,000 level. So this is in addition to that, and we're bumping right up against the third and final threshold, which is $250,000. So here's notification that we, in fact, are eligible and now need to apply our project for approval by the end of October. So folks, let's put our thinking caps on and see whether or not we're going to use it towards another phase of the solar on Cookingham or something else. Okay, Rhinebeck Legion Band every year, they have a concert, middle school, Linden Avenue lawn. That is Tuesday, August 6th at 7 p.m. And who's in charge of making sure it's not hot or raining? Is that Bill? That must be Bill, because he's not here. Exactly right. Okay, that's all I have for announcements. Does anyone else have any announcements? Okay, very good. So we start off with our first resolution, and Alex, what resolution number are we up to?
64.
64, okay. First resolution we have is to execute the contract with Department of State regarding that update to the comprehensive plan. Were there any questions, folks, about it? Not that we have necessarily a lot of leeway on how we define modify these Department of State contracts. They have very strict requirements. But if you do have any questions or concerns, and then as we begin the project, then we obviously submit update metrics and works to DOS. Okay, go on.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Motion away.
I make a motion to authorize the execution of grant contract regarding the comprehensive plan as outlined in resolution number 64.
Okay, Christine and Julia. Any further discussion? My only discussion would be, I hope that you, Christine, with all your experience, you make sure that you get your input in there on updating the plan. I'd be very interested to see. You've got that arc from
Yeah, right.
from the last one,
Yeah.
just
Yep,
about,
just
right?
about,
Just
right.
from the last one.
Well, from Centers and Green Space, anyway.
Certainly from
Right.
that far. Okay, all in favor, Jacob?
Aye.
And myself. Resolution number 64 passes. Next up, we have, and for the folks at home, please don't get too dizzy as I attempt to scroll through. We need to figure out how to do chaptering, right? It's called, and you go from one to another.
What is page number?
Which of course, might be
Like
a
96.
PDF format. Okay, well, it's to approve the audits. So it's Resolution 65. These are the audits that were submitted. Town Justice Court, financial statements, Office of the Town Clerk, Office of the Tax Collector, report on compliance for the federal programs, and a report on internal controls over that compliance as required by OMB, audit of general fund receipts and disbursements. And if you recall, our auditor checks, goes through all the files, spot checking, but does a lot of checking of all of them. And she has issued her letter, very positive report. This is Resolution 65, approving the audits. Who would like to?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, Julia? And myself, thank you very much. Okay, we are on Route 66, or Resolution number 66. Authorizing the submission of an application for a DEC water quality improvement grant, so re-equip. And this is for the brine equipment, and just for clarification, now that we have more clarification on this grant and the funding possibilities, we can apply for up to $250,000. Match is 25%. I think we were initially told they would fund 25%. We were kind of scratching our heads, like why would that be? So if they award us something less than that, then the match would be 25%, the lower amount. You have your opinion of probable cost, construction costs. And since we last met, there's discussion about needing to upgrade the water line going into the highway garage, but potentially dropping another pole with the three-phase line. We have three-phase across the street there, obviously, for the solar project, but there's some talk about maybe the pump and the efficiency of the pump would require three-phase. So I think we're going to need to do a little bit more investigating there to see just how much the differential is as far as the time prepping and the pump and the efficiency of that. But that said, that's what's driving the cost higher. So let's get it all in there because those are all related costs to the project. Any questions about that? So opinion of probable cost could be in the threes.
So that's included in the estimated total project cost included in the language of the
The
resolution?
The resolution.
35.
Yeah, includes
That's what's on
the
here.
salts, the related upgraded electric system and water
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
So it's right there, the total project cost, exactly, yeah. Resolution 66, and it's water quality. I wonder who wants to move that one.
Happy to move it. Bill would probably want to move it.
Yeah, Bill would, but he hasn't joined us yet. Thank you, Julia.
I would like to second that.
Jacob, thank you very much. Any further discussion? All right, if not, all in favor, Christine?
Aye.
And myself. Okay, so the pedestrian bridge, now that one, so through parks. So what's exciting about this project is the ability to connect 3 parks, but in addition to that, so Abraham's to Rec Park, to then Rec Park West, but also to get to the Empire State Trail. So that's what Parks is looking for, this type of project. So hopefully they'll find this to be something that fits right into their mission, which is to enhance the Empire State Trail. This would be wonderful for us, because think about it, this will be the first time we think safely we can get bikes from the village of bikers all the way through to the Empire State Trail. So it's really a wonderful opportunity, so.
I had a question.
Sure.
Just, and maybe this was in the packet and I missed it, but when the grant is submitted, will there be a map included? Because to us who are
Yes.
familiar with it, it's
Yeah.
exciting, but it's hard in the text, I think, to really grasp the scale.
Yes, there is a map as a part of it, and let me see if I can, pop that up.
I think the attachment after that said trail linkage.
Oh, it's a trail linkage.
There's a second one from the link you just clicked, like below.
Oh, look right there, no. Trail and draft concept plan, how about that? How about that? No. Is that because it's not really embedded in it? Okay,
Well, I
let's go
think I
back.
looked at an earlier
If
draft
you
where
go
the
to the- yeah,
attachments
if you
weren't
go-
in yet, but it's okay. I don't need to see it. I'm just happy that it will be.
Is it that? Maybe not, okay.
No, that's the OPC.
OPC.
I can't do that.
It's all right.
It's okay, I'll pull it up later, but
Okay.
essentially, yeah, we want folks to understand what it looks like. So I think it'd be a good idea to get that. If you wouldn't mind, don't shoot on the screen for a moment. 'Cause I'm gonna put up all my emails, and we're gonna put that,
The old scandal.
yeah, no scandal. Let's see. Let's see if this is it. Can I get that bigger? So,
Okay.
it's a little bit confusing, but I think there may be a couple, the colors may be changed a little bit. So here you have the Abraham's Park.
Yeah.
This would be the connection here. And then you get into Rec Park
Yeah.
West, B2B. Right now, I think it's showing the Kelly Road connection. Ultimately, we want to make it up
Right.
there to Alumni Center, but for now, this will get us to the Empire State Trail.
That's great.
Okay? Sure. Okay. Did you capture the map at least? I guess you did, thank you. It occurred to me I should have made sure that you've got that. Okay, and this is a 50-50 match. So we'll be looking at a project cost of 900 and something thousand. So this would be a bridge suitable for carrying pedestrians, bikers, and then, you know, maybe for our purposes, you know, some type of, you know, gator or something just for maintenance, but no motorized equipment. Well, we're gonna have to figure out, folks, about e-bikes, you know, pedal assist versus ones that aren't pedal assist, and how we're gonna deal with that.
The other thought I had, and I don't think it necessitates any change to the
You're right,
grant
thank you.
text, but, you know, as a flood-prone area, as well, and making sure that whatever surface changes we choose and the design of the sort of boardwalk area along the bridge are sort of best practices.
Right, so what we're looking at now is metal bridge where the water can not only pass over, but pass through. It's probably the best thing, knowing that, you know, those dramatic events that have occurred there. Otherwise, I think we're going to have damage. So you're absolutely right. Resiliency, right? That's what we're all about, sustainability and resiliency. Okay, any questions? That's the addendum for folks at home. That's addendum number 1 on the website. Town board members, are you ready to entertain an approval resolution? Number 67, trails. Who would like trails? I don't know.
Second.
Can I second also?
Do we just pull it out?
That's all good.
I think it's a good sign that you're all eager to have your names on it. Okay, all in favor? Julia, Roberts, we are all set there. And then the last one we spoke about, I think we're gonna hold off on this one. Our August meeting, Alex, first meeting is on what date?
13th.
13th. I think we have a resolution. Maybe let's take a look at the resolution, see if we can authorize to go ahead and proceed. Maybe we can find the draft, but we're still waiting on final details. Where are we?
What's the
Oh, let's-
deadline on this is after August 13th?
August 16th. It's on the green resiliency. Hey there, Bill. We are well. We're just finishing up, we're doing green resiliency grant. That's the one not due till August 16th. And so that's for the Forest Park stuff. We're still waiting on some information from our engineer. So I think we're going to just table that, shall we? Did we get a resolution on that one? In our packet? Yeah.
I think I would, I mean, if you're not worried about the timing, I think I would appreciate seeing a little more.
Yeah, oh no, we haven't, that's for sure. So let's do that, let's hold off on that one till the 13th. Here's some more time for more detail. What that will be, just so you know, Julia, is really just a tweaking. What they're gonna do is that report that we had for Forest Park, so they're gonna take out that small portion that we're working on for Shady Lane, but they're gonna revisit the sizing of the infrastructure to see if, under this program, we can really not supersize it, but just make sure that we sized it suitably for decades to come. Because otherwise it's sort of pointless if it's just gonna continue to be insufficient. even though it may be, larger culverts and drains and so on and so
Right.
forth. So I think they're just gonna tweak that.
Okay.
And so they'll be back with that for us. Next up is, for design purposes, I'm gonna ask you if you authorize me to sign, this is related to the Salt Kill Aspinwall project, the replacement project. As you know, we've gone through our public input process. It was rather successful, and I hope it strikes a good balance between maintaining the design, maintaining the essence of the bridge, while future-proofing it. This is, for design purposes, there's a approval worksheet, and we are needing to establish, so the first thing is approval for me to go ahead and sign the worksheet and move that process forward since we're just in the design phase. The second part would be to classify the action and establish lead agency. Again, this is the project that's being funded by Bridge New York and additional funds from DCTC. So we have resolution 68. And it describes the project. There has been prepared and submitted to the town an EAF for action, which was dated a couple weeks ago on the 17th. We reviewed the thresholds for type 1 and type 2, and we determined the action is unlisted, and we, under this resolution, declare ourselves to be lead agency and to circulate notice of the same to all involved and interested agencies. Okay, and here's the, from HBEA, design approval request memo. So may I ask for your approval on all of the above?
Oh,
Including resolution number 68.
So do we need to
so,
amend the resolution?
I was gonna say, you either need to amend or move on just this, and then authorize the, motion.
Say that again.
You either need to amend this resolution to include, this worksheet, or you need,
Oh, yeah.
or I would just move on this, and then move on this separately via motion instead of resolution.
Yeah, that's what I plan to do, sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, all fine. So let's do that. Let's do 68, classifying the action under seeker
So
and
moved.
declaring lead. Okay, thank you, Christine. Is there a second, Bill?
Second.
Missed you, Bill. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, Julia, Jacob,
Aye.
myself, aye. And then a motion to approve, to authorize the supervisor to sign the design approval request memo from HBEA as well as the FEAW. It's a federally funded project, and so it comes with
Extra paperwork.
Exactly, exactly. And if you are interested, if you're into hydraulics, I strongly recommend you look through the report and all of the information in tonight's meeting. There is
A lot.
nearly 600 pages.
Yep.
Okay, authorizations for signing those documents by motion, would it come from Bill? Okay, and
Second.
thank you, Christine. All in favor of Jacob?
Aye.
Julia, myself, Lauren, moving right along, which is what I know you all want me to do, because there's something that happens every 4 years on TV.
Are you doing the decathlon?
They're doing the decathlon thing.
Asking if you were.
No, no. Thank you. It feels like a decathlon sometimes. We're on resolution number 69. So this is the grant contract I mentioned earlier with NYSERDA for the solar project. So having met those thresholds, we have $100,000 to put towards the engineering feasibility study, which is done by Central Hudson or a third party. It tells us what upgrades to the grid. Important for the folks at home, if you don't spend time, like nerds like me do, studying electrification and upgrading the grid. Folks often ask, well, wait, if you're going to plug in every car, or you're going to have pumps and so on and so forth, the grid can't handle that. Every time you do a solar project of any significance, it's studied for its engineering and how to add resiliency and security and safety to the grid and to upsize. So you have these things called closers and reclosers, which are able to shut down projects, the energy from those projects, should the utility need to do that, and also to reroute energy. So you'll notice that sometimes with these larger projects, the utility is actually able to pull from that when there is an interruption in a different portion of the grid. So all of that to say that solar projects are good for grid resiliency in many instances. So the $100,000 will go for the feasibility, and then another 74 of that will go towards any upgrading of that circuit. It's referred to necessary for the project.
And just for clarification, so this is the $100,000 that is not the 175 that we talked about at the beginning of the meeting. This is already awarded.
This is already
then we
awarded,
have this other pot
already
of money.
approved, right. So, thank you for mentioning that. For the folks at home, there's a pre-approved list of things that we can use this money for, or we can have a custom project. And so on the pre-approved list is solar. And so what's been chosen is solar. Since we're doing that anyway, will help bring down the cost and hopefully make this more financially feasible. So yes, already approved, not funds coming out yet for us. Can I move 69? It's a contract, that's boring.
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. Jacob and I are in charge of boring.
Maybe.
It's
In charge of charging.
charge. Very good. All right.
Aye.
That's it.
He needed to get a third.
Nobody asked.
Aye.
The aye anyway, yeah. It's the British Parliament and myself. I
You already
motioned
said
that.
aye.
I think Christine. Okay. Say Yeah.
Vote for it again if I could.
We're gonna need AI. Okay. Folks, we're now at another resolution, just allowing for acknowledging that we believe that we should not be the lead agency when it comes to the Village of Red Hills sewer plant expansion. So we have no objection to their taking the lead, and so that's what resolution number 70 is all about. And before anybody jumps in, I'll move it. Okay.
Second.
Phase 2 sewer expansion project. And for the folks at home, I did get a phone call this week from an interested property owner. Right now, for the town, the TND sewer expansion is essentially down Route 9 and 1 or 2 properties deep. In the future, sure, an additional property could join if, and we certainly hope that we'll soon see that extension of the sewer down there. But for now, the 51 parcels have already been established for this initial phase. And then, as the village is doing, we can then expand into further properties if there is the desire to do so. Okay, and there's a list of who the interested agencies are. There is their EAF. There's a good map for the folks at home. Let's see if we can, let's go to the videotape. That's what Wolf would say. Good Lord, am I gonna make it there? Let's get to that map. I think folks will be interested in seeing where their sewer district service area is proposed for. Don't look at the screen. If you're at home, you'll only get dizzy. Oh, I think I did. I think I just passed it. There it is. Okay. So that's the expanded service area. You'll see up here at the right. That's the Red Hook Gateway development parcel. They're over here, rather. They're looking also to do maybe some infill development here, coming off of Cherry Street. There is the Fisk Street. There we go. There is what we referred to years ago as the Anderson Commons project. And then we have already, this is Red Hook Commons, there's the Village Wastewater Treatment Plant. There is a service area here. So you notice that they've included the schools in the service area. Ultimately, depending upon how much development, how much capacity is added, I know that the school district has expressed interest in joining the sewer district. So those are the plans. Okay. Very good. So that's, did we do 70? We did, no, I moved it, we didn't vote on it.
I believe I seconded it.
You, before I got talking. I'm glad you remembered. Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, Julia?
Aye.
Christine? Jacob? Myself. Thank you very much. Okay. So I can stop being long-winded, and Bill, maybe you could be long-reported. Let's start off with the building department.
Oh,
You don't want to do police first?
no,
Is it out of order?
no, building is first, it's first.
Okay.
It looks the same. So for the month of July, I believe this report was submitted yesterday, so it's through the 29th. They issued 54 permits. During the period of June and July, they conducted 217 inspections. They're very busy because it's a busy season for building. Same period, they issued 76 either certificates of occupancy or completion. There were no complaints, and the revenue stream from all the permits was $11,116. The details of all their activities are in this nice, thick.
Voluminous. Now, this is a report for both June and July, it looks like, or at least the portions of July. that we-
Portion, well, it
Completed,
says the
but-
monthly report is for July, so.
But the inspections and the list all seem to start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Trying to make us think they're busier than they are.
They're plenty busy. believe me.
Yeah, they are very much so. And we very much appreciate the work they're doing. Okay, highway. Jacob, would you print it up to- report. Ooh la la. So, yeah, that's how busy the building department is. There we go.
All right, so the report for July. At previous meetings, we spoke about uniforms and trying to get cost comparisons and alternatives. So Teresa noted that she's presently compiling that information and will submit the results whenever she has more information. We've talked about the Sawkill Bridge replacement tonight. 25 mile per hour speed limit signs for Forest Park and College Park have been installed. So thanks to the Highway Department for doing that. I know it's been a long time coming for getting those adjusted, so it's exciting. Forest Park drainage, provided an estimate for installation of drainage pipe and catch basins. Cost of materials is $47,000. Labor performed by the Highway Department, according to design by Tide and Bond. After funding increase, materials will be ordered, construction schedule created and shared with the residents. Summer storm cleanup. So we had some heavy storms on Sunday, June 22nd, 23rd, and Sunday, June 30th. Required a major cleanup effort. The Highway Department spent 2 weeks removing trees, brushing, clearing town roads, and I think that's probably a pattern for the heavier storms that we've been having. So thank you to the highway crew for cleaning up so much of what's come down over these large storms. Resurfacing for roads. The Highway Department has worked with the contractor to resurface Oriole Mills Road, Yance Road, Sunrise Drive, and Sunset Terrace. Chip seal was applied for the purposes of pavement preservation. The Village of Red Hook BPW crew assisted with traffic control. Towns of Milan, Rhinebeck, and Clinton provided trucks for the project. So thank you to all of those municipalities and for their assistance. And then the Rec Park drainage ditch. In June, the highway crew has excavated a ditch along the northeast ridge edge of Stubborn Dust walking path in Rec Park East. It's been flooding over and washing out, so hopefully this ditch will help avoid some of that erosion. That's everything for the highway department.
That's just what Julia was talking about, was the washouts.
Yep.
Okay, and just to be doubly sure that we've authorized the labor and the cost of materials associated with Shady Lane, let's go ahead and do that. Let's approve a budget adjustment from B to DB in the amount of $47,000. Since this was not originally budgeted for the 2024 year, I anticipate we'll have some excess in sales tax revenue to offset that.
Are you moving it, or are you?
I just did, I thought.
Okay, great, I will second.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All in favor, or further discussion? If not, Julia?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All right. Police. Wow. That's a lot of incidents.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that the way they count them, I.
Well, actually, there is something I'll draw the public attention to on
Okay.
page 5. But
This is June, right?
This is June, start to finish, there were 128 incidents or calls. And that doesn't include the 15 in Tivoli, where they're now contracted to as well. They issued 21 traffic tickets, so they've been, again, busy in that area and made one arrest. Regarding the high number of incidents, I just want to call to the public's attention on page 5 of this report, the number of road hazard incidents that they've had to respond to due to all the storms that we had in June and collateral things that happened the day after a storm where perhaps a tree was just about to go and all it needed was a little rush of wind.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's one at my address here because
What did
wires
you
came
do?
down and started a fire in the woods. So, right on the edge of my property. So, they've been busy. And for those who don't believe that climate change is happening, you can ask our police department how busy they've been dealing with trees down due to these storms. And just look at the dates. I mean, it was a very busy month.
Well, and Bud's Road, Bud's
Oh,
Corners
yes.
Road during that last.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it was officially determined to be a microburst or not. Certainly it wasn't.
It was quick.
It was quick. Well, I mean, that's really,
It was heavy.
it was just a minute or two of wind, and it was remarkable.
The
What
trees are
Massive
uprooted.
damage.
Yeah.
doesn't take much. Yeah, so, I'm working on the budget, as you know, all summer long, and we'll be, having to consider the budget lines a little bit differently, I think, as we've discussed with Teresa about, her crew is gonna be out there more and more for these types of incidents, and, perhaps, over time, less and less for snow, although that may not be true in this La Nina upcoming year, we'll see.
Bless you.
Thank you.
There's also higher allergies in the La Nina year. Okay, let's do something a little more fun, which is all predicated on how brief it is. Well, it's not scrolling.
Okay.
Because the document is too big. I think we'll have to skip over the rec commission report. Okay, come on, give us a
It's
brief
relatively
one.
short this time.
It's
But I will say, we
Yeah.
you guys give me a lot of grief about how long the reports are, but
I
it
know.
really does show
It's built.
the tremendous amount of work that our rec department is getting through, and the increase in the work that they have taken on with some of the projects that we have completed. So anyway, our summer programs are underway. They started on July 8th. This report is dated July 8th. And it's not part of this report, but we have received notice that we've had our inspection from the Department of Health, and everything went great for that, so I'll just add that here. Two separate teams. We have the local AAU basketball team was able, the gyms at the high school turned out to be available, so we've been able to schedule evening practices there. I'm sorry, I said that backwards, are unavailable, so we have evening practice at the rec park court. So we're working it out with the men's basketball league. And the over 37 men's softball league is using the synthetic field on Thursdays from 8 to 10 p.m. And then the Red Fire Department softball team is using it for co-ed games on Saturday nights.
Christine, can I stop you for 1 second? You accidentally said Thursdays 8 to 10, but you meant to say Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10 on the over 30.
Yes, you're right, Monday through Thursday, yes,
Yeah.
sorry. So there's I think there's been an increase in
Over
teams.
37s.
In teams,
Yeah.
yeah, with that. Thank you.
That's great.
And then just some brief updates. We're still waiting for the repairs to be done to the lighting outside the snack bar. But the restroom repairs that we've been discussing for a number of months have been completed, so that's good to know. Some other general maintenance that's been going underway, been taken care of, some of it's still happening. As was mentioned, the stone dust track was washed out with the major storms that we've had, and the Highway Department brought in 2 loads of stone dust, which the Howie Cowies spread to fix that damage. Also, as was mentioned, the Highway Department worked with the Rec Department to dig out the drainage ditch, which had also had trouble because of all the flooding and the debris that was in it. And the Rec Department did want to reiterate that the job done by Rob Taylor and the Highway Department was outstanding on that. All the drinking fountains are open at the park, which is great because it's been so hot lately, so we really do have to make sure that everybody can stay hydrated. The wetlands, Ruth O.J. Wetlands Walk also required cleanup after major tree damage through the storms. The Rec Department crew was able to handle that one, or that project, I should say. As was mentioned in the announcements, the Rhinebeck Legion Band concert is scheduled for Tuesday, August 6th at 7 p.m. on the lawn at Linden Avenue Middle School. And we have discovered that the last week of our rec playground conflicts with the Tivoli's playground, rec playground, that's August 5th to August 9th. And some of our counselors also run that program, so there may be we may have to try to cover extra staffing during that week. So there you go.
Okay.
Just as a supplement to that, John sent out an email about the pickleball courts.
Right, yeah.
He came post this report, and to the chagrin of some of my favorite pickleball players, were down
Yeah,
the court.
we're down at court during those repairs, yeah. Ironically, as we're talking about all storm damage, which was originally damaged because of a storm and the water came up and washed out underneath the courts. So, you know, we are having a lot of storm damage that we're dealing with now.
You said the water table's 2 inches
2
below
inches
the court.
below the court, yeah.
Like,
Didn't used to be there.
Won't
Yeah,
take long.
yep.
Well, and, you know, hindsight is always, right? I mean, you would never have built a recreation park in that location today. You would have chosen a different location, probably the west side. So.
Where it drains down.
Where, yeah, there, I mean, there are obviously wet areas there, but, you know, it starts high and dry, if you will, so, that's why we need to future-proof it.
Yep.
Okay, but speaking of water, so 2 things. First, thanks to both fire companies who showed up, the camp, to cool down the kids and have a lot of fun. But I did want to mention that the county has a splash pad now at Wilcox Park. And don't you want to bet people will be knocking on our door pretty soon saying, hey, how about getting a splash pad at our rec park? So I'm not sure we have room for something like that, but maybe that's something we want to take a look at.
They're not cheap. I walk my dog there about once a week, and it took the county probably close to a year to complete that, and based on what I saw,
Yeah.
I'm sure it was very
It's pricey.
expensive. I mean, we can apply for grants and things of that nature, but it's a fairly expensive endeavor because they basically have to dig up and essentially put in the equivalent of septic tanks I watched them do it to recycle the water to make sure that it stays clean. So it's a fairly complicated, yeah, it's a complicated.
So I was gonna say, it's a lovely idea, but this setup is 20 minutes away.
Yeah,
So
that's close enough.
let's see what type of use it gets before we consider doing one here.
Yes, but the water's only 2 inches away.
So it's not very much digging.
And we're gonna
Right.
pipe that out, and the
Right.
pickleball courts are gonna collapse.
Well, it'll be something. It'll be a splash if nothing else. Okay. Well, when everything's getting wet and the winds are blowing, we'll need our tree preservation commission even more so, right?
There's some trees. Yeah, so the report for July, the meeting on July 16th, there are 2 items to report from that meeting. We had a very good discussion about the damage from the spongy moths to the trees on Pitcher Lane and Bud's Corner Road. The committee is going to be purchasing a small garden sprayer to treat any concerning caterpillar infestations using a non-chemical biological material, Bacillus thuringiensis, next spring. Only areas of great concern will be treated. There's a lot of discussion about, how the sprayers are pretty effective in reducing the damage from the moths by getting rid of the caterpillar clusters, big clusters, insects.
Did anybody notice they went away finally and now they're coming back a little bit? Has anybody noticed they're going around too? Anybody more?
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion about how they come sort of cyclically, and then they migrate
Yeah.
around the country.
It's
So
like a 3 or
It's a
7.
boom
Yeah.
bust, a peak.
Yeah, so there's sort of a thought that, this year has been kind of heavy. Maybe next year might be heavy, and then maybe a little bit of work for you for
A few
maybe a
years.
decade. It sounds like the last time was as bad was about.
It's a huge strain
Yeah.
of the trees, though.
Yeah.
I see, last year I saw the maples and oaks come back pretty quickly. Now I see them, some of them
Yeah.
are having a much slower regeneration,
Yeah,
which is troublesome.
yeah.
Well, it's drier
Exactly.
and hotter,
exactly right.
and then it's 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There was a lot of discussion about whether, the older trees are hit harder, whereas the new trees might have some resiliency. So it was really interesting hearing the committee talk about,
Okay.
sort of the consideration. I'm always really impressed by how much everybody knows about trees, because I don't. But I'm learning.
And-
So you're learning.
I'm learning,
Yeah.
It's really an interesting meeting to attend, so,
And the experts at Carey Institute,
yeah.
can be very helpful with this topic and others.
Yep.
And we have a few Tivoli residents who are esteemed scientists
Yep.
in this area.
And then the other item from that report is that fall planning sites will include Rec Park West, Fruit Bud Lane, and South Broadway for the new dispensary.
Very good. Well, that concludes what we had on the water district, sorry.
That was
yes.
the very last thing because of the size of them.
Well, yeah, actually, the water district.
PDF couldn't get any bigger.
I bet it took up all the room.
Well, yes, certainly, I think, and Bill, maybe if you would address, because we are getting phone calls about folks calling about second billing for the same thing, the
I-
post office.
I just saw this, I was away, and I just saw the emails, and I need to come in tomorrow morning and speak to Hank and
Yeah.
Doreen or Thursday morning, just to find out. I saw some of the emails, I'm a little confused by what I read,
Yeah.
and I want to find out, like, when did they go out, and why.
Apparently, they went to the post office but weren't delivered for quite some time.
Okay.
And I think we, or the water district did a second mailing, if I'm not mistaken. And so there may be confusion for folks because you received the same thing twice. We want you to know that, no, you're not being billed twice for something. There was some kind of mix-up with the normal USPS system delivery, so.
But things, I've personally experienced things getting
Very long
delayed
delays, yeah.
or making some unusual trips around the country just to go, from Connecticut to here, and it goes to
Right.
Minnesota.
Right.
Some of it has to do
Right.
with when COVID was bad, the way the shortage of their staffing was, they had to reroute mail in all kinds of crazy circuitous ways, so. That wouldn't surprise me terribly, well, it perhaps surprised some of the emails I saw, some of the residents. But there is an issue that I do want to bring up that's actually not on this report.
Okay.
So-
Did you want to start with the issue or the report?
Well, the report is, it's really not much different than.
More of the same?
More of the same, these are all the same issues, and our water's good, and it tests well, and they have to follow certain schedules for testing for PFOAs and PFOSs and things of that nature. But we have good water for now. The issue has to do again with the tank. And one of the members of the town board, the village is having their tank repainted. And the issue has come up again, should we consider repainting this tank or replacing this tank? And I reminded them that we applied for a grant and we were turned down. And it would be sad and tragic if, there was a failure and they would only give us a grant because there's a failure, which often happens with the state. There has to be some kind of catastrophic event and urgency. But because the contractor who's doing the village, one of the members of the water board knows them, sent out an email among the other board members to say, should I contact them and just get a sort of a thumbnail sketch of what would it cost to repaint. And they went and they spoke with that company. Of course, it has to go for bid and everything else, but it's a general idea of what these cost. And one of the things that came out, it's about $750,000, not including about $100,000 you have to spend for special testing that has to happen during the course of the reconditioning, as well as having a temporary water solution while the tank, because the inside of the tank gets done. But one of the things that did come up is that the technology now for refurbishing tanks is better than it was, say, in the past. And in the past, there was this thought that it's only good for 10 years. But now they're talking about you can get maybe 15 years out of a full reconditioning. And so then the issue comes down to new tank at $4 to $5 million versus under $1 million for a complete refurbishing to get probably a little bit less than half the life of a new tank. New tank's good for about 35 years. So I told in the email exchange among all the things I just said, I will bring this to the board for something to consider and to discuss and to think about. Because one of the things they also mentioned was, they looked at their reserves and, how much they have in their reserves. Is this something that, with a little extra funding from the town, could we do? Is it something we want to do? So I'm just putting it out there for the board to think about, not for doing anything tonight.
So several years ago, we asked them to do the comparison, do
Right.
the analysis,
That's
try to understand which is the better to proceed. I'd be interested in getting not just a comparison of paint versus tank, but also the types of tanks, because one of the options presented back then was a glass.
Glass
tank,
lined.
right? Which
Yeah.
doesn't require the same type of maintenance.
That's right.
So we want to look at a life cycle analysis. Now, I was interested, you mentioned 35 years, or 30 or 35 years for the life of a new tank?
Well, without too much refurb.
Okay.
Our tank is 31 years? Wait, it was 95, was it done?
Was it 95 or 85?
No, I think it was early 90s, it was done, maybe 93 or 2.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
32, 33 years old. From what I understand, it's not in terrible shape, but, the type of steel that was used, and the way the thing was built, ultimately, there's a life cycle.
Yeah.
I was interested in the fact that the new technology for refurbishing is a little more robust than what they did in the past. And even when we did that comparison, which was 2 years ago, when we applied for the grant, they were talking 10 to 12 years. So I was a little, read that twice and
15 cents about it.
exactly, at that cost ratio.
It might be persuasive.
But I did ask about all the hidden costs, and the biggest hidden, there's an engineering report piece that has to be done, which is not cheap, and then the real expensive thing is, as it's being done, you basically have to have on-site,
Bring another
Yeah.
tank.
yeah,
And is
You
that
know.
included in that 750,000 number, or that's separate?
that's separate.
I know,
So
we want that
I'm thinking realistically, you're looking probably closer to $900,000, all with it, with water, extra water, and then
All the testing.
and then the guy who's got to rappel into the inside wall. Because they actually inspect the work in progress to make sure, because there is an issue that I read, and I don't know that they're looking for it in the Tivoli tank, but, the steel,
flaking.
it flakes and it gets thinner.
Yeah.
And so the cost of the actual refurbishing, it's like puttying a hole in your wall. But there's a thing that they have to do. And so when they strip the inside, they measure the thickness of the tank, of the steel, in all these different places, and they look for places that need essentially spackling, is the best way to describe it, to bring back the thickness and make it even. And until you really empty that tank and go inside, like rappel inside and look, you're not going to know. And I wouldn't be
Which
annoyed
means
if
your cost could be a little bit variable also.
Yeah, exactly.
And that maybe answers the question I was going to ask about whether the refurbishing is, you can do it once, or if it's something that you could refurbish it again.
Oh,
In
you
the
mean like
future.
after you do it, then 15 years
Yeah,
later?
like
do
is
it
it
again?
sort of like the last part of the life cycle for a tank, or is it something you could do repeatedly?
That's-
Well, we've had it repainted already.
It's been
Okay.
repainted once. It's a good question. And maybe with the new technology, but remember, the steel is old.
Yeah.
And it's also, they produce steel differently now than they did back then. So the other question that came up was, on the issue of the funding was, they have a reserve of money, but they keep mentioning that, a conversation the town had with the college about their willingness
Yep.
to make a contribution.
They recognize it's their backup tank. Yeah.
But the question is, unlike last time when it was a primary water source and they paid for half, what would be the amount of contribution that they would be willing to make this time? And, I think it's worth sort of scratching a little bit.
It's a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they've already said that they obviously would, because they rely on it. It's their backup water
Yeah.
system, and they get billed for the water, and they need it. They need their resiliency.
Yep.
So that's not an issue. The issue is, what are we gonna do, and when are we gonna do it? And then we approach them and say, okay, we've determined this is the way, and, you know, we're asking for.
Well, we have what I would call an informal bid. It looks kind of like a formal bid, but it was something that this contractor did to give you an idea of what has to be done and what the general costs are. And, you know, I can forward that to the members of the board.
Yeah, I
for reading
think,
it.
I
thought you sent it to you, Robert. Or did Hank send it to you and me? But it, you know, it's sort of a
I'd
more
like to get
technical.
Dan Valentine to weigh in
Take-
on
take-
this
like to
and-
take a look at
and
it.
compare it to the other estimates we had in the past and see what the difference is. Why is it cheaper now? I always get nervous when something's cheaper after an inflationary period.
Because at the time we applied for that grant, we concluded that looking at the life cycle cost, it was better to do a replacement,
I
right?
think so.
And you know, I was asked my opinion during this email string, and I reiterated that it is my humble opinion that a replacement of the tank, you know, is an inevitability. I mean, that's just the way things are, and it's probably going to be cheaper to do that now than it would be 10 years from now, or 12 years, or 15 years from now.
Yeah, I'm sure it was cheaper to do it
Yep.
years ago while
Yep.
we were thinking about it.
But I think the technologies are better, and I did look at that
Yeah.
issue about the glass tanks. I mean, those, you don't, with the glass tank, you don't have to go inside. You know, it's glass, it's
Yeah.
like a bottle. You still have to deal with the outside, but it's
Yeah.
much,
And they build it right next
Yeah.
to the existing one.
yep, mm-hmm.
There's
So you- yeah, there's no
virtually-
disruption, right.
Virtually no interruption.
Yeah, there's really no disruption in the service. And then then basically you dismantle the current one, just like what they did in Tivoli, and they sell the steel for scrap. And it actually, Tivoli, I asked the mayor, they did pretty well with that. You know, steel scrap,
Yeah.
right now is pretty high.
Well, that was a historic icon. They sell it on eBay. What? People felt
Like
very
Evans
passionate
Field
about
when
that.
they were selling the seeds, you know?
Yeah.
You can have a piece of the ladder.
Exactly. Last thing on water, for the folks at home, round 2 of the first of its kind water sampling for residents went quickly, within a matter of days, those 30 samples. What I'm trying to do now is arrange through Saltkill Watershed, it's the Barn Water Testing Lab as well, and a service is maybe to have something ongoing where our residents can, you know, participate in the program would be wonderful. Obviously, knowing what's going in our bodies is important. And so to the extent that we could expand this program, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Okay. That's all I've got for a regular agenda. Want to thank you all for joining us. At this time, I'd like to make a motion that we go into an executive session to discuss a real estate matter under negotiation. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good night. Now, board members, please look at your schedules